the best Master Duel decks post the pack known as Dreaded Conspiracy, which just dropped on Master Duel. I'm TheCaliEffect, guys, and if you want to see more amazing content, you already know what to do. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel for more Master Duel content. And then also subscribe to Casual Cali for casual content, TheCaliEffect King of Games for TCG content. We have 5 different categories here. Master's level would be considered the best of the best. These will be the best decks in the game. Solid choice would be a deck that can be really, really good, but I wouldn't say you wouldn't see it a lot in Masters. Good enough to steal W's is a deck that if you know what you're doing, you can win. Experimental isn't necessarily a bad deck, but probably needs to find its footing. And then what chat decided would be our lowest tier would be no twist, no lotion. If you were on stream with us, which is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, you'd know. So let's go ahead and jump on in and talk about these particular decks. I think that Adamancipator right now is a very solid choice. I don't think that players are going to be getting rid of the Bystials. And in fact, Bystials are pretty good against Labrynth, Branded, and other dark-based strategies as well as Dark Worlds. So contrasting the Bystials with a deck that can combo off and also make some pretty solid boards, I think Adamancipator is still pretty good. Branded did receive another hit with Branded Fusion, with Branded Fusion to 2, Owlibird to 2, Branded Opening to 2, that genuinely hurts the consistency, though I still think that it is a solid choice Yu-Gi-Oh deck. It can play the Bystials very well, and it doesn't necessarily need the Bystials or isn't hindered by the Bystials. I think that this is a pretty decent deck. Blue Eyes, my guy, look, until we get some relevant Blue Eyes support, no twist, no lotion, same thing with Dark Magician, my guy. These two decks just are not good right now, especially with the Bystial monsters being able to banish your Blue Eyes and Dark Magician targets before you can use your cards like the Eternal Soul trap card or the respective trap card for Blue Eyes, or summon your Jet Dragon. It becomes extremely hard to play these decks, but they're still really, really fun to play. As fun it is to twist without lotion. Dark Worlds, I think, is 100% good enough to steal W's. There's a good thing about Dark Worlds right now, and it's that the Bystial monsters are limited, and a good Dark World player will be able to play outside of the Bystial monsters that are being played because Magnemite and Druid Swarm the one. The bad thing about Dark Worlds is that 1, you're going against time, 2, your Silva's banned. So those are 2 things that I think are really limiting factors, but since the deck can summon so many times and does not care, I think that it's still good enough to steal W's by summoning some really, really good boards. Dino's 100% experimental. This deck has everything and still has not consistently shown itself to be a good deck, and that's because it is fairly fragile, which isn't a bad thing at times. If the deck wasn't fragile, it'd probably be overpowering and overbearing, but I think it's a really solid spot for players to be able to experiment, maybe even try some of the new cards to make Dinos better. Same thing with Dogmatika. Dogmatika can be really good at ruining extra decks, but the problem is some of the decks that actually came out from the new set don't need their extra deck, so there goes your main plan. Also, 4,000 attack isn't necessarily hard to get over when Access Code Talker exists, but you didn't hear that from me. Dragons are still a Masters level Yu-Gi-Oh deck. I still think that Dragons are one of the most powerful decks. Chaotic Ruler to Chaotic Magical Dragon is insane. I don't know why that card is not banned, especially with the tier cards and everything else that it came out. But overall, this deck will be solid and probably be one of the better decks in Master Duel for a fairly long time. Evil Eye is a deck that we were just playing and we was cooking. The thing that I like about Evil Eye is that you can ignore a lot of things that players have been trying to do. Like, for example, Evil Eye doesn't really care about being maxed because you can stop at whatever summon you want to. Also, Evil Eye really doesn't care about the boards you make because it's really good at being able to break boards. But with that being said, I think I might be the only Evil Eye player in the server. I think it's 100% experimental. I would love to go into more detail because this deck claps cheeks, my guys. I'm just saying. If you guys pull the Evil Eye Unleash, you're luckier than me. Evil Eye is really, really solid. Exo Stepsisters. I mean, look at them. Come on, guys. Martha. I swear, if she didn't have my mother's name, I'd actually be down. I ain't gonna lie, I still might be down. Anyways, Exosister is good enough to steal W strictly because we are getting more towards graveyard-reliant decks. I think Exosister really preys on those graveyard-reliant decks by playing Dimension Shifter and Dimensional Fissure and stuff like that. And that's just an auto win. But overall, the Exosister strategy is fairly lacking. It does have a great dragon matchup, but other than that, it's okay. Floowandereeze? I don't think there's going to be another Floowandereeze meta, my guys. I think the birds are finally dead. And it's like a bittersweet moment because you don't want birds to ever exist. You know they're not real, right? And the second thing is that, you know, you just don't want birds to exist. So it's a good moment. It's a great moment in Yu-Gi-Oh! One less competitive deck, but I think that birds are not good enough right now with their hits. Of course, there's going to be some player to break birds again and make Floowandereeze a lot better than what I'm giving it credit. So I'm going to put it in experimental. Fur Hire Runick this deck is crazy good. So a great thing about the Runick cards is that they do really well against back row decks because you have a searchable spell and trap removal in your deck that can be recycled. So every single time you activate that card and you just out-resource and draw advantage against a trap deck, you do really well. And in my opinion, Fur Hire is probably the best version of the Runick strategy, as well in the TCG, as well as in the OCG, because this deck or Master Duel, because it gets you so much advantage. Plus, if you've seen Zootopia, then you know. Generator's tough. I think people are not going to read Leviathan. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players don't read. We know that. There are two things that I know for a fact. Three things I know for a fact in life. Taxes, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players not reading, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Players not touching grass. Those just all exist in the same world. And the Leviathan card is actually incredibly powerful. Generators also benefit from no Nibiru to Primal Being, which, you know, that could hurt from time to time, but also benefit from it being a best of one format, which this deck can definitely catch a lot of people by surprise. I had high hopes for Goatee. It doesn't do enough, which is crazy. When I first seen Goatee, I thought that the deck was going to be crazy good against Tearlaments. It had its moments, but unfortunately, I got to take that back. I think that it has a lot of crazy cool things, but it doesn't do enough. You know what I mean? Insects got some new support. Yeah. This is actually another one of the problems another one of the things I was completely wrong about. I thought searching Maxi was everything, but it turns out Maxi is not that great. Labrynth comes in as a Masters level Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck. You're going to start to see players main board evenly match Lightning Storm and also Red Reboot to be able to counter this strategy. It is ridiculously oppressive, especially when Yu-Gi-Oh! Players start to learn how your Labrynth cards work. I have a whole video on that, so go ahead and check that out. And how this deck can pretty much search any normal trap card you want to be able to destroy your opponent. Madolche, I don't think Madolche is bad. It has a lot of great things going for it. Like Tiramisu Shuffle. I mean, it's the sweetest deck ever. It's crazy good. But unfortunately, the bandwagon that hides behind Madolche, the glue eaters, or the weebs as I like to say, will probably cuss me out, even though I think I gave it a pretty generous standing. Overall, I think that it's a solid deck. Not an amazing deck, but just a solid deck. Magic Key, don't even try. There's going to be somebody like bombarding my inbox talking about Magic Keys like amazing, and I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I promise you. It happens every single time these tier lists come out. But don't try. It's just not worth it. Marincess, I think Marincess is the best Cyber's deck right now. I would say that Mathmech is really down bad because of the Bestial monsters. But this deck is really, really good. It hasn't really grown into its own. Players, I don't think, have caught on to it as much as they should. But it's really good right now. I would say that. Heroes are good enough to steal W's, but if you guys do not have if you have the gems to build heroes, just build an actual good deck. You could probably build 2 Masters level decks for the price of heroes. So unless you're like that hero guy, I wouldn't recommend it. Melfi Sprite. I think Melfi Sprite is still really, really good. Business as usual. I think that a lot of the cards that counter Labrynth, Melfi Sprite needs to be a little bit more mindful of. Sprite Carrot, the red one that negates spell and trap cards, becomes way more important now than before. Naturia, I was really shocked to see Naturia not do as well, but it's still a very solid deck. I actually think it becomes a little bit better with more trap cards because it can make Naturia Barkion, and those board breaker spell cards because of Naturia Beast. I think that this is a sleeper, probably going to go with a solid choice. Plunder Patrol isn't bad. It's just power creep. A lot of things, a lot of decks do more than what Plunder Patrol can do. And its back-breaking engines, like the Adventure engine, is severely limited in Master Duel. I think Punk is still good enough to steal Ws. It has some crazy combos with it. The deck's ridiculous. Jam, Dragon, Drive. And all the other cool things make it ridiculous. Rika, you guys, Master Duel players, you're in the same spot that TCG players are. You disrespect the living daylights out of this deck, and all it does is just win games. It's crazy. I think the deck's biggest problem was Maxi, but I mean, that's a lot of decks' biggest problems, right? Scareclaw, 100% experimental. When the Kashtira monsters come out, Scareclaw becomes better, but then Kashtira becomes a tier 0 deck, so do with that information you will. Other Sprite variants, I think other Sprite variants are still pretty good. I think they're a solid choice in the game. There's nothing wrong with the other solid variants, or the other Sprite variants. Swordsoul is getting power crept. You guys are starting to see where hand traps are going to start meaning a little less. Swordsoul has a really, really bad matchup against back row decks. It's really bad. If you're playing Swordsoul right now, you may want to consider playing other decks for the time being if you see a lot of back row, because Swordsoul can ridiculously struggle. But against any other matchup, Swordsoul does okay. Tearlaments, I don't think there's any debate here. Tearlaments still one of the best decks in the game. Therions, pure Therions is 100% experimental. I'm still, no twist, no lotion. I still want to play the deck. I still think it's good. Trap Tricks, I think Trap Tricks are a solid choice. And here's what I'm talking about with Swordsoul, guys. This deck's good. This deck's good. This deck's a fan favorite. There's going to be a ton of people playing this deck. This deck is not only like the same type of waifu inheritance here, is also a very scary good deck. So Swordsoul is really going to have tough sledding against some of those strategies, which not going to be great. And Tri-Brigade, if it's the pure version, 100% no twist, no lotion. If it's the, because since we already covered the Sprite version, solid choice. I think the Sprite version is solid choice. Unfortunately, I probably wouldn't play it because Pit Knight Early does not exist in Master Duel. But that is all that we have for the best decks tier list post Dreaded Conspiracy. The meta tier list for Dreaded Conspiracy. Of course, let me know where you think I got something wrong. Let me know where I ranked the strategy too high or too low. But also be sure to check out these other videos, and I'll catch you on the next one.